So I'm Jen Waldron. I'm one of the co-founders of Augusta. We are home care's first caregiver applicant matching system is what we call it. I am going to share a little bit about what Augusta does in just a few minutes here. But just wanted to set the stage for what we're going to talk about today, which is basically I have got a lot of data from 325,000 caregiver applicants. And I want to share some of it with you to help you uncover some of the reasons why you may not be hiring as much as you want to, basically. So I've got several specific things I'm going to go through, and I would encourage you to use that Q&A to type in your questions. Feel free to do it as I'm talking, and I will try and just kind of go back and forth and keep an eye on it. And I'll also leave a little room for questions at the end too. So happy to make this a conversation as much as possible. And also I'll answer what I can. And if I don't know the answer, I will get back to you. Um, also, I am recording this presentation, so I will have it up on our website in a couple days, and you'll be able to watch it or send it to your colleagues. Okay, so here's what is on the agenda today. We're going to start with the overview of Augusta, and the reason primarily is because obviously today what I'm trying to do is make this an educational session for you to really share the data and give you some ideas about what you can do moving forward. But to be able to do that, I want to make sure that you know how Augusta works a little bit, so that way you know where we got this data from and how reliable is it, how is it collected, because that obviously gives you confidence in the information. So I'm going to start with the overview of Augusta and pose this big old question of why aren't we hiring enough caregivers of the right caregivers? Okay, because that's really different from enough caregivers, right? We're talking about the right caregivers. And then I'm going to go through key data points that we've collected from this giant data set, 325,000 applicants. Experience levels of people who are actually in the market, which I'll talk more about in a minute. The location the caregivers apply to versus where you actually end up hiring them. Benefits that caregivers are asking for versus benefits that agencies are actually offering today, or at least advertising that they're offering. And then I've got some data on pay rates as well that I'm going to share, which is kind of interesting, high level pay rate data. Okay, so I'm going to jump into this overview of Augusta. Like I said, Augusta is home care's first caregiver applicant matching system. So it is a play on words on applicant tracking system, but the thing about it is that we are entirely home care specific. We don't do anything else with our lives. And what we know is that home care is all about the match. So it's not just hiring people, it's about matching the right caregivers with the right clients ultimately. So our software platform is purpose built for home care. The thing that is our secret sauce that makes it so unique is that we developed a way to be able to get enough information and enough data from almost every applicant from kind of anywhere to be able to have an algorithm that can actually rank them. Which is if you're at all in this world or familiar with this concept of using an algorithm to rank, the problem is always enough information, right? Like if you don't have enough information in, there's no way like any algorithm could be effective if there's not enough data going in, basically. So that's really our secret sauce, our wheelhouse, is that we figured out a way to get almost every single caregiver to answer over 20 questions that are all home care specific about their background and experience. And because we are able to do that, we can rank them, and then our software automates interviews and things like that. And ultimately, basically helps the recruiting team spend their time with just the right applicants. So at the end of the day, our clients get more interviews with the right people and ultimately billable hours, because they have enough information to start making matches faster in the process of recruiting somebody and also in the future, which I'm not going to get into too much today, but if anybody wants to learn more about Augusta after this, I'll have my contact info up. Okay, so that's the main idea behind Augusta. The genesis of it is basically that our experience when we started doing this work ourselves, I actually started in the industry as a caregiver, and worked for basically only senior care related businesses my whole career. And when we got into this business, we basically realized, oh my gosh, the ghosting issue is such a huge problem. We want to help with that. We want to do something with that, and figure out how we can help recruiters spend time with the right people. And so to do that, we looked at it from the caregiver's perspective. And that's where we realized caregivers are getting bombarded with messages today. They get emails and emails and emails from job boards and texts, and the whole thing adds up to an experience where the caregiver doesn't actually read the job description, unfortunately. They may skim it, but they really they're not applying thoughtfully. And I would venture to say it's not necessarily their fault. There's a lot of things going on, but they're being enabled to keep applying, basically. So what Augusta is basically, is that the caregiver thinks our software is an application for the job, and it's connected directly, it's integrated directly into Indeed, and you can use it on other job boards, or your website, kind of wherever. But basically, the caregiver thinks it's a job application. But what's really different about it is that as the applicant applies, it's a gamified experience with some cool AI in the background, where it basically helps the applicant actually understand what they're applying for, that's all home care specific. So their proximity to where your clients are, where your agency is, what it means to be a caregiver, like the difference between companion care and personal care, for instance. That's a really big one that I'm going to address with some of our data. So basically, the caregiver thinks they're applying to a job, but since we've gamified the experience for them, that's how we've been able to get them to keep giving us information. So they give us answers to over 20 questions in some states and it's all home care specific information. So their experience working with older adults, certifications that they may have, driver's license, vehicle, insurance, other languages that they speak, their schedule, all the stuff that's like integral to whether or not you may even want an interview. So that is the main idea for the caregiver, and it's how we've collected all this data from these 325,000 people that I'm going to share today. So the other things that our software does is it helps our clients make more matches and get billable hours, and also gives you actionable data, which is part of what a little taste of what I'm going to share today. So that way you have a really much better understanding of what you can do on a daily basis to hire more, basically. So one person, Joan, asked in the questions, what do I mean by gamified experience of applying to a job? I'm happy to give you a demo after this call. I'll have my contact info up. But essentially what it is that as they fill out what they think is just a job application, it becomes personalized to them. So they'll start to see information that's like hyper relevant to them as they apply. For example, if they put in a zip code into the Augusta application that is close to where you have clients or close to your agency office, they would see a cute little emoji message pop up that says, "Hey, did you know you're only a 7-minute drive from that agency?" Or, "This agency has amazing clients 7 minutes away from you." So it'll be super specific and like hyper personalized to them. So that's what I mean by gamified. Hopefully that's a good enough explanation for now. But definitely connect with me after this for sure. Okay, good question. All right, so I guess just one thing to add. So I already covered one of the points here, which is basically that part of what Augusta's solution is, our secret sauce, basically, is that we figured out a way to get applicants to give us a ton of information, way more information than you normally get. That's all home care specific. The stuff that actually is what you need to know at the point of thinking about whether or not I want to have an interview with this person. We're not qualifying them on every single thing in the whole wide world. We're getting them qualified enough to make it a really strong first interview. That's our whole goal. And since it's integrated directly with Indeed and you can use it on other job boards as well, the software does have the effect of really stopping applicant drop off at the top of the funnel as well. But it's because we get 95% of all these applicants to complete the 20 questions that we're able to identify the right ones. The next really important point here about I guess making sure you know that our data is reliable is that one of the things that we found is that the algorithm that we developed, it actually works exceptionally well for disqualification. So what I mean by that is the second stat that's on the screen right here. So our customers are 2,200% more likely to hire somebody that our software identified as a qualified candidate versus somebody who is disqualified. So what that means is that we know when we've collected enough data from this person to know they're really not a good fit. But at the same time, what we are able to really to say also is kind of the other side of the coin is that it's only about 34% of all these applicants who actually are a good fit. So this gets to basically one of the big questions on all of our minds is why aren't we hiring as much as we would like to be, basically. So the first point basically is that out of 325,000 people, it is only 34% that meet the basic qualifications for an interview with a US or Canadian home care agency. So what that means is that probably just based on the data alone, I don't know your agency specifically, but very likely your team is probably spending time with people who are not qualified candidates. And the data basically supports that. Since it's only 34% that meet your basic qualifications, it means almost 70% do not and are probably people that you have to spend time reviewing their application, reviewing their resume, whatever they gave you, and to figure out, is this a qualified candidate? But we know it's a super small number that fit in that, and it takes a huge amount of time. So that is probably one of the main reasons why you're not hiring as much as you want to. It's because you're spending time on the 70% of applicants who likely are not going to be a fit in any time in the near term. The second reason is very likely because of time to hire or time to interview in our case. So Augusta's system does automatically schedule the right type of interview with the right applicants. And what we found is that our customer, and at the same time, we also collect hire data. So what we found is that our customers are 100% more likely to hire applicants who have self-booked through their own appointment through Augusta. And somebody on the recruiting team talked with and had their interview within less than 4 days. So I don't know why 4 days is the drop-off point, but we know for sure in the data you can see it. It's like a massive drop-off at 4 days. So from the point of application to getting that first interview done, whether it's a phone, a video, or in-person interview, doesn't matter. Any first interview completed within 4 days will help you hire more. So I just talked a lot and I saw there was a question coming in, so I'm going to take a break and read that question. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so Kelly is wondering regarding quality, what do you factor in when considering applicants? Yeah, it's a great question. So we've got a set of about 20 different questions, and it varies by state a bit and by what our clients' needs are, but it's roughly 20 questions. And it includes things like their experience level working with older adults, whether or not they're interested in full or part-time, what their schedule is, like both the days and times that they're available, driver's license, car insurance, and we have specific ways to ask those questions, versus reliable transportation, certifications that they might have in their state, what role they're looking for, and how that matches with your business. Gosh, there's a lot of other questions, but those are some of the main ones. Obviously, we need to know if they're authorized to work in the U.S. Um, and then there's like a whole bunch of optional questions as well. The way it's set up for our customers is that it's almost a bank of questions. There's some standardized ones, and then there's several optional ones in there as well. So um, hopefully that gives you some sense of how we um, factor in um, who is a qualified candidate. Oh, and then of course, so we get the applicants to answer all these questions, and then our algorithm basically helps decide based on your specifications at your agency what makes a qualified candidate out of all that criteria, basically. So let me know if I can give you any more information on that. And just reading through a couple more questions here. So Genevieve, how does your solution integrate with various franchise employment and lead generation systems? We get most of our qualified leads through our franchise marketing. Yeah, so that's a great question, and maybe it might be easier for us to talk individually about that, depending on what the systems what the systems are. We already have integrations with a whole bunch of ATS systems and have done a whole variety of different integrations. So depending on how it works exactly with where the leads are coming from and how you're getting them today, we may already have a solution or we may be able to create one. So I will follow up with you after. David is saying, great stats. Love that. Thanks, David. Do you have any data that captured how many were no-shows to the interview that self-booked? That's a great stat, a great question. And it is a bit hard to answer. I will go back to our team and see what they are able to give me. The problem, like I guess the challenge to overcome to be able to figure that out is that it is self-reported in terms of who no-showed. Whereas we can see who booked automatically, and that data is super reliable. But in terms of if somebody no-showed and the recruiter doesn't like update the system or write notes about it, then we wouldn't have a way to know. So that would be the issue with figuring out the no-shows, though we do have our system allows our customers to very easily track that. It's just if they don't actually do it, then we wouldn't have the data. So I can go back and see what large scale data we have and how reliable it is and come back to you. Thanks, Matt. Um, so Matt just commented that I want to make sure the group knows this is unsolicited. We were utilizing Paradox and switched to Augusta. We went from a 70% no-show rate to a 40% no-show rate. So thank you so much, Matt. That is an amazing testimonial. You are so cool. And I'm so glad that it's been so effective for you. So that is awesome. Okay. Great questions, guys. Love this. It's amazing. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into some of the data here. And one thing I'll caveat is that I do think some of what I'm gonna share it may be validating to you in terms of your hiring strategy that you already have today. It's totally possible that some of what I'm talking about is like, oh yes, we've already seen this, we're already doing this. But I talk to a lot of people, a lot of home care agency owners where what I'm going to share may also be a little bit challenging, you know, like it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. But the data kind of shows that maybe you should. So I'll just get right into it. Okay. So one of the questions that we ask caregiver applicants is, have you worked with older adults before? And then we give the applicant 4 options and they can choose any, as many as they want. Um, so what I did here is combined the data from basically applicants who said they were brand new to the industry or had only cared for friends and family. And then I combined anybody who has professional experience. So 73% of 325,000 people are saying that they have either they're brand new to caregiving or they've cared for friends and family, but not had any professional experience. So, wow. Like, that's what I mean, I think a lot of people, if you've been in the industry for a little while, like, yeah, like we know that there's a lot of people who are newcomers to the industry, but this puts a very, very fine point on it. 73% of people do not have professional experience. Um, at least any recent professional experience. So, in terms of your hiring strategy, it's a data point, right? If you are one of the agencies out there who really, really, really tries to hire people who only have experience already as a caregiver, then you are cutting out a really, really, really big part of the applicant market. So, because we know it's most people don't have experience, but are applying to jobs in the home care industry. They want to be caregivers. They're interested in entering the industry, but they're just not experienced yet. Because I do talk to a lot of agencies who say, you know what, they have to have 6 months experience. And I totally get it. It makes complete sense as to why you would want to do that. But that strategy doesn't align with who's actually in the market today. So I know I work with a lot of agencies that are part of a franchise who have like great training programs, and there's certainly awesome ways to make your own training program. And so if you are in a position where you can hire people who are brand new to the industry and put them through your training experience and focus more time on that, you will have a lot more options at the top of the funnel, basically. And sorry, I was just getting another question that was a little bit longer here, so I'm taking a minute to read it. Okay. Sorry, thanks for bearing with me here. Okay, so somebody who wanted to be anonymous is saying that they are part of a franchise and they're a bit frustrated. I'm paraphrasing. Um, they have, there's a couple franchise locations that are very near them that are owned by somebody else and start caregivers at a higher wage and have a sign on bonus and other benefits. Um, they're and they're saying their caregiver pay is determined by which client they're scheduled with and has nothing to do with experience or education. The owner of my location has declined all those my suggestions to help with retention. Any suggestions? So I'm I'm a I'm a data person. I think the numbers speak volumes. So I would go. I mean, I think. I mean, so man, it's a tough position to be in because there is definitely a connection between does the caregiver think that they're going to make enough to make ends meet? Like, so if your competitor is offering a higher wage and more benefits, that is very tough to compete with. Some of the other things, though, that you are competing with at the same time that I know are really important as well is spending your time with more of the right applicants and getting to them as fast as possible. So even if you're having a hard time competing on certain facets of the business, I mean, competing on what you can, maybe one strategy to go with it. and making sure you're spending all of your time with the people that you have the best shot with, basically. I mean, that's my perspective from what we've seen on our end, but that's a really tough situation. Thanks for sharing what you're going through. Um, and feel free to contact me after this if you want to talk more about it. I could brainstorm with you a little bit. Um, um, for sure. Um, okay, I've got another question that I'm reading through over here. Um, oh, okay. One person in here is sharing, I think that they're already using Augusta, and they're sharing that they're hoping that eventually they're going to be able to go schedule caregivers directly to come in person to get through that the phone screen step faster. And she does have a lot of caregivers out there who don't have professional experience but do have some personal experience. They're family caregivers or something like that. So yeah, so happy to have you here. Gotta. Okay, I'm gonna go on to my next stat here, which is okay. So the next question, or one of the next questions that we ask applicants, is whether or not they're certified in their state. So this goes pretty much in line with the last data point. So basically what we found is that, and obviously this is only for states where there is a certification requirement. If your state doesn't have a certification, we'll ask to find out if they are a CNA, but obviously it doesn't affect whether or not they're a qualified candidate. But in the states where there is any relevant certification, we ask them about that. And the question varies in every state. So what we found is that it is 65% of all applicants have no registrations or certifications that are relevant to home care, child care, any care work, basically, at all. Because we're in some states, we ask about all different things. And so it's about 35% who do have some certification that could be relevant in some way. I mean, they may not use like they may have been a CNA, but they may not be an active CNA or something like that. And obviously, in most home care agencies, you're not CNAs aren't operating as such. They're operating as a caregiver. But anyways, basically, what sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole here. But basically, what this is showing is that so we know there's tons of new people to the industry. We know most people, if they are applying to your home care agency, they are not yet certified. And if you are in a state where you have to hire somebody who is certified, California, New Jersey, Washington, there's 28 or something like that. There's a whole bunch of states now where there is some certification or registration that the caregiver has to do. So if you are in one of those states, the people who are applying are brand new to the industry. So as part of your training and orientation, it just would make sense to have a script, a program, a handbook, a video, something that you can give to these brand new applicants to help them understand how they would go get certified. Or even better, which I know is very hard to do, so I get the barriers to doing this, but or if you can actually help them get certified, that would be the best possible solution. But I know how hard that is because in some states it's like Washington State, for instance. I mean, it's a 75-hour certification program with like a board exam and everything just to be a caregiver. So I realize that that has a whole lot of barriers to entry, but at a minimum, if you can make sure to handhold this group in some way to help them understand what certification is, how it would be possible for them, what their other career steps might look like after they get certified as a caregiver, that this certification is one that they can take with them to their next employer, you know, like that type of information, it is well worth it because that is a lot of people in the market if you're in a certified state who are not certified. So there is a lot of opportunity there. Cool. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to go on to my next data point here, and then I see there's some other questions. I'll get to those in a minute. Okay, so one of the other questions that we ask applicants is, what role are you looking for? And then we give them tiny little descriptions of what each of these roles are. And we ask them about four different things. Companion care, and we explain that it's meal prep, housekeeping, personal care, personal hygiene, right? You can see on the screen here, I've got the tiny little descriptions underneath. So this is actually what the caregivers see. And then specialty care, lifts and transfers and Alzheimer's, and then live-in care. And for our customers that don't do live-in care, we just don't, that's just not an option for the caregiver. But what is really pretty interesting from this question is that 17% of 325,000 people just want to do companion care, which is kind of a lot. Like, that's a lot of people who only want to do companion care. And it doesn't mean that they won't necessarily do other things, but that is what they're interested in, which when you think about it, it goes very much in line with the fact that these are folks who are brand new to the industry. They're not certified. They probably don't know a lot about what caregiving really means. So I think the big takeaway for this is very similar to kind of my last recommendation, which is leveraging your training program and the conversation that you have on the first phone call with an applicant to help them understand what caregiving really means. So personal care is the activities of daily living. It includes toileting and bathing and dressing and grooming. And all of these activities are very, very intimate and personal. And then like help them understand more about what they would actually be doing on a daily basis. That will help this group in the long run. Though if you are an Augusta customer, you do have a way to filter out those types of applicants as well if you just don't have the time to commit to it. But it is a relatively large group that really needs education. And a great way to do that, obviously, we're giving them a little bit of education as they apply, but once they get on the phone, they'll probably, it's worth your time to give them a little bit more support because it's a long-term relationship. You might not have the matching case for them tomorrow, but 6 months, they may remember you being like a great resource, a great source of education for them about the industry, and have positive thoughts about getting back in touch with you. So um, that's what we know about what caregivers are looking for today in terms of the role. I'm gonna take a pause to look through the questions real quick. I've got another customer in here, Danielle. Thank you so much. She's saying that she's very thankful for us implementing changes that she requested in the product that are specific to her state. So awesome. So glad that that worked out for you. Oh, it's Leslie. I'm sorry. Hi, Leslie. Thank you. Okay, so I've got another question that I'm reading through right now. Oh, okay. So I think this is another current client. Also, Stephanie, thanks so much for chatting in. I think after this, I'll get in touch with you. Oh, I see you wrote something else. um, Okay, so there's Stephanie's sharing two things here, both very insightful. One is about how she's using the companion care question today. And so that part, I'll reach out to you afterwards, or either that or me or Bianca or somebody from the support team will reach out to you afterwards, because that what you're describing there, I think we can actually tweak your qualification a little bit um, to help you with that. Um, Okay. If it's okay with you, I'll let me get back to you after this. Because if I want to make sure I understand your question right, but I'm pretty sure that like using the qualification settings, we can get you the results that you're looking for. So um thank you so much for your grace. Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. Um, okay. I'm moving on because we're I think I put this on the schedule for 45 minutes, so we're running out of time here, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. And if you chat in more questions, thank you so much. And if I don't get back to if I don't get to you while I'm doing the rest of the presentation here, I will follow up with you after. Okay, so the next thing that our software does is it collects the location of the applicant and compares it to the location of your service area and any physical office locations under your ownership. So what we've seen basically is that 46% of caregiver applicants apply within 15 miles of your service area. So it's less than half of 325,000 applicants are applying to agencies that are near them, basically. So most caregivers apply to agencies that are way, 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 way too far away. And this is part of how I'm going to go back to the very beginning here. So caregivers, for the most part, just keep applying to jobs, right? They get emails every day. They just one click apply on a million jobs. So they are not paying attention to where they're applying to. So that is part of how we know like why this is happening. There's probably other reasons too, but that is one of the reasons that this is happening. So most caregivers applying to your agency are probably not in a good location for you to actually want to be able to hire them. Because what we know is that 71% of hired caregivers actually do live within 15 miles of your service area. So there's a big mismatch on this is a big part of the wrong candidates applying to your business and you having to spend a ton of time finding the people that could be a good fit. So what's really important to take away from this, I guess, is obviously Augusta is one solution that can fix this problem for you and help your team spend time on more of the people who are in the right area. But at the same time, if you have any way at all to be able to spend more of your time with people who actually live in your service area, then it is well worth it because we know that ultimately you're only going to hire people who have, who live in a certain area, but a ton of people are applying from other areas. Um, so there's other things that you could try as well. There's some like settings in your job ads. If you're a big Indeed user, I'm happy to talk with you about that. There's hyper local advertising that you could try, job fairs, literally stuff with people in the community. Could be another solution to try that as well. But from job boards today, for the most part, applicants just are not applying to the right locations for them. So any solution that you can come up with to help curb that problem at your agency would probably be well worth the time and money investment in it because it's eating up a lot of time. We know that. Okay, so next up, one of the questions that we ask caregiver applicants is what benefit is the most important to them? And when the applicant fills this section out, we pre-chose 5 different benefits because they are the ones that came out of our own interviews with caregivers that we did ourselves. And so we had pre-selected about 5 different of the top benefits that caregivers told us about. And when they are answering this question, the options are scrambled. So it's not, they all come up in different orders to make sure we're collecting good data. The number one benefit by far that caregivers are asking for is flexible hours. So you can see the numbers on the left-hand side here. It's pretty dramatic. Everything else is kind of same. What I will say about this is that we have Um, every basically what we've learned to kind of support this is that when caregivers are saying flexible hours, I'm going to give you, I actually have a great study that I can share with anybody who wants it, who's other big data nerd people out there, from McKinsey. It was done a couple years ago, right, in 2022 or 2023, on basically job seekers in macro job markets, and they had personas that they identified. Essentially, everybody, all the data that I'm talking about directly lines up with uh, a macro persona in the job market, which is basically like this uh, primary caregiver at home who has kids and responsibilities and maybe is working a couple jobs and needs flexibility. When they say that, what they mean is they are the primary caregiver, and when their kid calls out sick or when their kid is sick at school, they have to be able to go and pick them up. Like there's nobody else. So I know sometimes I talk to agency owners who they say, yes, we offer flexible hours. There's part-time or full-time. And I totally get it. That sounds really good and like technically speaking, checks the box for flexible hours. But usually what the persona that we're talking about um, is wanting is more so they are the ones who have to go deal with all the family stuff at home, and they need flexibility to be able to go get um, their kids or take care of whoever when nobody else is around. So, and so I'm not saying that any of this is easy to figure out a solution around, but it does seem to be the case. So, okay. So next up, this is the benefits that agencies are advertising to caregivers. So before it was what caregivers are asking for, this is what agencies are advertising to caregivers. So 55% of agencies are advertising 24/7 support, which means that the caregiver can always call, basically, right? Um, Paid training. And then third on the list is flexible schedule. So it's only 40% of agencies that are saying that they offer a flexible schedule. So I think that's a clear opportunity. If there are ways that you can demonstrate that you and have a legitimate program to be able to offer a more flexible schedule for caregivers, that would resonate super well in the market, and it could be a competitive advantage because only 40% of agencies are advertising that right now. So I won't read through the rest of the list here, but I will. I'm going to have this recording up so you can check it all out. Feel free to email me if you want the slide deck also. Okay, so my last couple slides, and I know I'm like running over now, but my last couple slides are basically just some high level pay rate data. So what I did, because I wanted to make sure that the data was still statistically significant, is I actually parsed out California separate from the rest of the US, which creates some other challenges, but I thought, hey, I'd share it anyways, because I think it's pretty interesting. So what you can see here on the left-hand side is the hourly minimum pay, and on the right side is hourly maximum pay, and it's the distribution. So we've got, I don't know why the number didn't show up here, but basically you can see the spikiness of the data. So we've got a big spike at people in California starting at $17 and $18 an hour, and then a big spike at people topping out at 20 and 22 an hour. So, and you'll notice here also, we've got the top end going all the way up to 26 an hour right now. So, from my experience, it is obviously in today's day and age, there are states with, there are pay transparency rules. And so you're best off advertising how much you pay. And I would also, the way we structure it for our customers is we recommend advertising a range, which can be a little bit complicated sometimes, but our customers that I know of that are advertising closer to the top end of the range that you're seeing here up to 26. They have a very concrete career pathway or plan for somebody to get from the low end to the high end. So they've done the work of creating this structure of how somebody can actually make more money over time. The flip side of advertising that high end is that your recruiter is going to get a lot of people who say, oh, but I saw a 26, I only want to work for $26 an hour. And that will happen. But it also will attract more people when you advertise the higher end of the range. So it's a bit of a catch-22. I say if you have a real concrete program that you can advertise of saying, yes, you absolutely can make $25 an hour with our agency. And and here's how that works. Over the course of 1 year, you would do this many shifts, this many hours, whatever your metrics are for them. Make sure it's all lined out, super clear, ideally in writing, right? Then I think it's worth it to advertise the top end because pretty much everybody is, I mean, the biggest spikes are at 20 and 22. So if you have a way to advertise 23, highly recommend it. If you're in California. So the data is kind of the same, except for a much bigger spectrum across the US. I hope this is interesting to you. It's a lot of data together. It's a lot of different states together because we do have customers almost all over the country now. But to make it enough information that it was significant, I kind of combined all this, the other states. So I guess same high level takeaways here. You can see where the spikes are. And you can also probably see a little bit of maybe what caregivers' preconceived notions are from this information. So starting as low as 11 in some parts of the country, and all the way up to 27 in other parts of the country. I mean, granted, those are outliers, but the bulk of caregivers are starting somewhere between 14 and 17 an hour and topping out between 16 and 20 an hour. So that's the macro of pay rates. So that is all my information. I know I went a little bit over time. I am just going to leave my contact information up here on the screen. So if you want to chat about Augusta and learn about how we may be able to help your agency, I'd love to have that discussion with you. Just feel free to you can book a demo on our website, or you can call me or email me directly. And happy to get with you. I'd love to learn about your business and see if we're a good fit. And Paula, I did notice that you would like to see that study from McKinsey that I was mentioning, so I will send that to you after. Feel free to chat in any other questions for anybody who's still hanging around, if you have them. Cool. Okay. I think everybody's filing out for their next meeting. And I'm going to do the same. So, hey, thank you so much, everybody. It was a pleasure to have so many questions and such great engagement. I'll follow up with the folks that I mentioned. And thanks. Yes, if you're chatting in right now, yes, I'll follow up with you individually after this. So, all right. I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. Don't hesitate to call or email me. And if you send in a question, I will get back to you. Okay. All right. Bye, everyone.